Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am not here with Geeky Sparkles in this video. She will be back later. We're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons. We're going to talk about Hasbro. We're going to talk about the drop-off in week 2 for the Dungeons & Dragons movie. Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves has dropped off 60%, over 60%. In its second week, it actually got beat by John Wick. Nobody's really talking about this movie anymore since Super Mario came out. So I tried to dig up some information on it, and I'm not seeing articles about the movie. I'm not seeing articles about the box office. I am seeing articles saying that they cut Drizzt out of the movie. Originally, Drizzt was supposed to be in the movie. That would have made a lot of sense, but they probably cut him out because they didn't want to pay royalties to R.A. Salvatore, if I had to guess. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Hasbro getting all kinds of backlash at this Creator Summit. Didn't really go into detail too much about it. The other day we did a video talking about how they're going to get rid of half races. And it's not even the fact that they're getting rid of half elves and half orcs. It's the fact that they're saying those races are inherently racist. To be a half breed of something is racist. That doesn't even make sense. That doesn't even make sense, Wizards. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about Hasbro walking it back. Hasbro is apparently going to bring back the plastic on their packaging. That didn't last very long. A lot of collectors complaining about the quality of the boxing, the quality of the toys. The toy quality has dropped off a cliff. Hasbro just seems to be utterly broken at this point. Their stock's not doing well. They laid off, what, 17% of the company? Not good, not a good sign. So they were really hoping the D&D movie would do better than it did. They were really hoping that D&D fans would be happier with the changes they're making to Dungeons & Dragons, and it sounds like that is not the case. So we're going to talk about all of this, how problematic all of this is. Look at this. This is unacceptable, guys. Look at this. These toys are breaking. I almost bought these. I actually wanted to buy the classic animated D&D figures, and then I heard multiple people tell me that they were garbage, that they were just not built very well, and a lot of the new Hasbro toys, especially in the windowless packaging, not built well. And I really do believe that the windowless packaging had more to do with hiding quality control issues and cheaping out than it did with helping the environment, right? So we'll talk about all this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture, news, views, and rants, guys. Yeah, hey, Geeky's not here, so I'll give you a woohoo. Woohoo. There it is. There it is. As my half-assed woohoo. So yeah, this is not good. I'm looking at the numbers for this weekend. We know that Super Mario Brothers was going to just absolutely dominate. I did not expect D&D to fall to third place. I did not expect it to drop off 61% and John Wick Chapter 4 to overtake it. That's not good. It's currently sitting at under 100 million, I think, worldwide, and I think it's going to be out of the theaters here pretty quick. Now, total, it is doing better apparently than Shazam, so that's a good thing, I guess. You know, not that it's really, you know, look, we did a video before that Shazam cost a lot less than D&D did. D&D was a $150 million movie. And then there's marketing, which I guess the marketing was considerable. I didn't see a whole lot of marketing for it, but a lot of people in the comments said they've been seeing all kinds of ads for it. So they probably have $300 million or $250 million sunk into this movie, and it hasn't even broken 100 yet. Now they do have streaming and all that. And I want to be clear. I want to be very clear about this because I have not seen the movie, but I have heard from multiple people whose opinions I trust that the movie's actually pretty good. Much better than they were expecting. Of course, you know, after the 2000 Dungeons & Dragons movie, I think most people's expectations were at the absolute floor, but I heard the movie was actually pretty decent. You know, that being said, it's not doing that great at the box office. And apparently, Drizzt was supposed to be in the movie, and they cut him out and replaced him with, is it Zank? Is that the character? A new character, Zank? Yeah, so they cut Drizzt out of it. And I'm guessing it had to do with, well, one, potential blackface. You know, I told you about the Drizzt costume I saw at Spirit Halloween where it just looked like a Tolkien elf. Yeah. And two, probably royalties. They probably didn't want to pay royalties, if I had to guess. But that's kind of a huge mistake, I think. Another huge mistake with this movie, beyond the fact that the timing was horrible because of the backlash toward Hasbro and, Wizards of the Coast because of the OGL debacle, was the fact that apparently they did not mention or give credit to any of the D&D creators, at the end credits. I've heard multiple people say that they're like, hey, based on a game created by Hasbro or the game by Hasbro. Remember, Hasbro acquired Wizards of the Coast. Hasbro did not create Dungeons and Dragons. But I've heard mixed things. Some people said that they actually do give a special thanks to Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson and Ed Greenwood, who created Forgotten Realms, in the credits somewhere. And then other people said, no, they do not. They just step over these gentlemen altogether because some of them might be problematic in current year. And if that's the case, that's just completely inexcusable. I mean, even Disney is as shitty as Disney is, with its talent. When it comes to the Marvel Comics, movies, they actually do give credit to people that maybe only worked on a couple issues of a comic that they adapted some of that material, for the movies. So it's pretty inexcusable to not give credit to the actual creators, the actual forefathers of D&D. But that is a very current year attitude for Wizards of the Coast. So yeah, I'm going to get into this a little bit more because, we did talk about that half-elf, half-orc, half-ass debacle. And this was at the Creator Summit. This is where Wizards brought a bunch of online influencers out to HQ to wine them and dine them, kind of like Disney does. And apparently it did not go the way they thought it was going to go. Apparently there was some severe backlash, some people asking some very tough questions. You're not allowed to do that at these corporate shindigs, and I have to wonder if this won't be the last time they do something like this because of it. But this is coming from Game Rant. DnD Creator Summit turned into a roast of Wizards of the Coast. Dungeons & Dragons influencers and third-party publishers grill Wizards on its business model during the recent Creator Summit. So apparently they derailed the itinerary, transforming it into a roast of Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast invited a group of noteworthy D&D content creators, influencers, and third-party publishers to a Creator Summit held on April 3rd. The event planned to discuss a number of topics, including the future of 1D&D, which turns out is just going to be an upgrade to 5e. Wizards of the Coast pushed towards diversity and inclusion. Again, that's where it came out that being a half-breed is racist somehow. They could have phrased it much, much better. They're basically like, well, being a half of whatever is inherently racist. I'm like, is it really? Tell it to all the mixed race people that probably play your games. You're a wizard. That's not very smart, especially for a company that's supposed to be going all in on diversity and inclusion. And the new D&D virtual tabletop, which I've heard people absolutely despise, and they did not get a lot of info on that. Indestructiboy, one of the major whistleblowers responsible for revealing the OGL controversy, was one of these voices at the summit. As the event progressed, it played out more like a press release than a summit, causing content creators to become irritated. See, again, first time, and I said this before. Look, I was on Disney's approved media list for years. I went to all these events, and I knew you weren't allowed to question the mouse. You were never allowed to question the mouse, even when they were making the most boneheaded, idiotic decision ever. You were supposed to just smile and nod and be like, okay, what hashtags were you using to promote this stuff? Because we knew how the game was played. You want to get invited to these events, you have to be friendly toward the company. You have to be a company man, a yes man. And I'm like, I don't think Hasbro knows what they're getting themselves into, especially now. Now is not a good time to have an event like this when everybody is pissed off. But they did it, and they get what they deserve, basically. I mean, you held this event right after one of the biggest fumbles in Wizards history, and you expected it to go smooth. They were trying to smooth things over. Just like how they sent Kyle Brink out there to do damage control, and he actually caused more damage by saying stupid stuff like, I can't wait for white guys to get out of this hobby. To get out of the way. I want guys like me to leave this hobby. They can't leave fast enough. Not a good thing to say when the majority of your players, whether you like it or not, are probably middle-aged white guys, right? According to Indestructiboy, I like that name. Indestructiboy, Wizards of the Coast executive producer Kyle Brink, Here we go again. Gave evasive, dismissive answers to questions raised by the audience. This came to a head during the virtual tabletop demonstration, where the presentation fully devolved into a lengthy Q&A segment where content creators grilled Wizards on his business practices. Firmly on its back foot, Wizards tried to bring an end to the Q&A after a tense half-hour discussion. However, D&D content creators at the summit unanimously voted to continue the conversation, even at the risk of missing out on some of the exclusive reveals Wizards had planned. Oh boy. The session continued well past the allotted time and pushed the summit itself to last nearly 3 hours longer than it was supposed to. How did they not know this was going to happen? How did they not know this was going to happen? You're literally, a month or so out from one of the biggest fumbles ever in this company's history. That that stupid OGL 1.1 caused more damage to this brand in such a short amount of time. Other game systems are selling out. You've created more competition. A lot of other publishers saying that they're going to create D&D competitors or alternatives. How did you not see this coming? Are you really that arrogant? I already know the answer. This is Hasbro, right? You really are that arrogant. The first D&D Creator Summit was messy but not unproductive. Though disquieted by the severe reaction to the original itinerary, WotC ultimately did listen. Notably, Associate Influencer Manager Dixon, that's a title? Associate Influencer Manager Dixon Dubo was named as a particularly helpful speaker who mediated between WotC and the gathered influencers by offering definitive answers. Likewise, several creators reported staff members approaching them afterwards, asking what they could do differently to improve future events. It seems like the Creator Summit was the first of many, so players will have to see how WotC handles similar events in the future. They won't invite Indestructible, will they? They're not going to invite people who are hostile to this company. I don't think. I think they're going to vet them more. And this happens with Disney too. They go through their list and they curate and they watch your social media and they see what you're saying and they look at your numbers and they see what kind of numbers you bring. Because basically at the end of it, you are just an advertising tool. You really are. That's all you are to them. And I know because I've been involved in those conversations. You are an advertising tool. You will be constantly expected to give status reports on your numbers on your various social media platforms and provide examples of what you've done for the company lately to stay in their good graces. I am not kidding. This is how it worked with Disney. This is how it worked. And if you stepped out of line or you weren't the right kind of person anymore, you just didn't get an invite. I mean, it's as simple as that. So let's talk about, some more damage control here. The Verge. Chris Cox goes on the defense. This was a couple days before the Creator Summit. And he's basically talking about the D&D brand and how valuable it is now, $1 billion in sales. They're trying really, really hard to, do some major damage control to save face. I mean, it was, again, the biggest mistake I think WotC has ever made. Single biggest mistake they've made. They've destroyed so much goodwill in such a short period of time. And once again, Clownfish TV was ahead of the curve. We've been calling it out for 2 or 3 years now. 2 or 3 years now that something was amiss at WotC, but you were not allowed to say anything because if you did, you were like an alt-right Nazi bigot or some crap like that. But now everybody hates them. So now it's cool. Now it's cool. And we'll never get an apology. That's okay. I do not give a shit. I have played this game before with these companies. They will use you, abuse you, toss you aside like a used tissue. That's how it works. So just be aware. If you are an influencer and you're getting perks from this company, when you are no longer useful, you will not get called. And in fact, you might get blacklisted. I'm just saying. But so he did a pretty lengthy interview here in The Verge. And he was talking about mostly money. Just here's our money. Here's how much money D&D is making right now. And it's a huge brand and blah, blah, blah. The movie's coming out. Go see the movie. Buy the games. Whatever. And again, this is before the shit hit the fan. This is before the movie came out and kind of meh. It did okay. But now they're talking they're going to bring back the plastic According to Mike on clownfishtv.com, it's a website. Guess who runs it? Yeah. They're going to bring back the windowed packaging because a lot of people complaining that the quality control is not there, which I've seen for myself in Transformers just in the last couple of years. I do collect Transformers pretty heavily. The last couple of years, the quality has declined massively. I mean, we're talking, I'm looking at toys I bought 2 years ago, and I'm comparing them to the ones that just came out. And there's a noticeable difference in quality. I mean, whether it's the lack of paint applications or sloppy paint applications, or, you know, the plastic feels lighter, they feel cheaper. And now people are saying the figures are just falling apart, like freaking knockoff toys. Actually, you're better off, I think at this point, especially as a Transformer collector, you are better off buying third-party knockoff toys, I think, than you are actually spending money on the Hasbro toys. So weird. I remember seeing a review for the 1986 movie Starscream. I think I said this in another video, and people were complaining. They're like, this is just like a knockoff, you know, AliExpress Transformer, right? Except it wasn't. It was actually an official Hasbro Starscream with bad paint applications, missing parts, in a cardboard box with some tissue paper around it. And people are calling it out. The toys suck. Now, and a lot of it is people want to see what they're buying. If it's missing pieces or, you know, the hand's falling off or whatever, people want to see in the packaging. If the, you know, the paint's not right, they want to see it in the packaging. So now they're talking they're going to bring that back. So this is coming from a Ghostbuster site, Ghostbuster News. They said we wanted to share an update on packaging for Hasbro 6-inch scale figures. Based on your feedback, this is a statement released last week, we will be reintroducing windows and blisters to our 6-inch fan figures beginning later this year into 2024 for select products across our portfolio of brands, including G.I. Joe Classified, Power Rangers, Star Wars Black Series, and Marvel Legends. This will eventually expand to all new 6-inch figure releases. So does that mean they're going to go back and re-release figures with the windows on it? That's what it sounds like. The new windows and blisters will be made from bio, PET or recycled PET, helping us achieve our priority of meeting our fans' expectations for extraordinary packaging and superior design while still developing packaging that minimizes waste and the use of virgin plastic. Now, this is nothing new. If you look at a lot of the toys that have come out lately, they are using recycled plastic. You recycle soda bottles, for God's sake, water bottles. And they can't throw some plastic on a cardboard box that has a plastic action figure in it. I mean, what's the half-life of your typical Hasbro action figure? How long are those Captain Marvel figures, those unsold Captain Marvels and those unsold Star Wars Rey figures going to sit in a landfill? You know, whether or not they have a plastic bubble, it doesn't matter. The whole damn thing's made of plastic, right? You're not going to tell me that these toys are made out of recycled plastic. Yeah, so Hasbro announced it was phasing out the current box styles and debuting virtually plastic-free packaging in August 2019. Yeah, I think it's garbage. I mean, here, Mike put some pictures up. He got the Ghost Rider Legends, and it looks like a knockoff toy. I mean, this is just like, what is this? What is this? You know, what's with the bike? I mean, I get that it was red in the comic, but like, this looks like something you get from the dollar store, and you can't see what you're buying. And that's what's so frustrating about all this. You cannot see what you're buying. People complaining about broken figures. Binging, again, a lot of complaints about that. So Hasbro, I just think in general is broken. I put this article up like a month ago, and I just talked about how broken Hasbro is all across the board. Like, that they've definitely leaned into being politically correct to the point of absurdity. I mean, asking grown-ass men to give their pronouns at G.I. Joe conventions before they're allowed to ask questions. Non-binary Transformers. I mean, what the hell is going on here? But, you know, the company is just fundamentally broken. And I think Chris Cox is a big part of it. I think they need to get rid of him and get somebody else in there that knows what the hell they're doing. But I don't think they're really interested in selling toys like they were. I think they're very interested in their IP and making movies, and I don't think the new Transformers movie is going to do that well either. D&D did not do that well. I don't think Transformers is going to do that well. That ship has sailed. The best damn Transformers movie they put out, live action Transformers movie, was Bumblebee. and it did not do well at the box office because everybody was so soured on the last couple of Bayformers movies. And this next one looks like another Bayformer movie. Like, just lean into G1, man. If you did a sequel to Bumblebee and it was like a G1 Transformer movie and you just leaned into it, I'd be there. But I have zero interest in the Beast Wars, Rise of the Beasts. I don't care. I really do not care. And we'll see how people react to it. I don't think it's going to do well. I really do not think it's going to do well. So we're going to wrap this one up, guys. There you go. D&D, third place behind John Wick, way behind Super Mario Brothers. Good luck with that, Hasbro. I don't know what to tell you. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later. Help support the channel. Go to thereef.support and get early access to podcasts, videos, and other content. That's thereef.support.